Okay, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining today for Dragon Trail International and COTTM, the China Outbound Travel and Tourism Markets webinar. Today we will be talking about expectations and opportunities for the return of the Chinese outbound tourism market. My name is Sienna Perulis-Cook, and I am Director of Marketing and Communications at Dragon Trail International. Joining me today from COTTM is Sales Manager Jane Carter, and we're also very pleased to have a special guest from the Chinese travel trade, Tony Ong. Tony is Chief Business Officer at HCG Travel Group, which is a sub-company of Ctrip, and he has more than 2 decades of experience in travel technology and international trade. So first up on our agenda today, I'm going to be giving a brief update on what the situation is now for outbound travel from China, as well as our expectations for how this might change in the coming year. I'll then share some market insights that will help you to get ready for COTTM, as well as for the return of Chinese tourists, by giving you some insights into Chinese consumer demands right now, as well as what kinds of materials and information you should prepare to share with the Chinese travel trade. Jane will then follow this by talking about how you can connect to the Chinese travel trade during this very important time leading up to the recovery of the market through COTTM online, as well as future offline events. We'll then hear from Tony to share his perspective as a Chinese travel agent, as well as to talk about some of the products and itineraries that he is already developing and selling to Chinese international travelers. At the end of today's webinar, we will have a live Q&A session with all of the speakers, and we'll also be joined by Dragon Trail's Sean Lee, who will be able to answer any technical questions about the COTTM online platform. You are welcome to send in questions at any time during the webinar. Please do so by using the Q&A button on your Zoom control panel, and we will answer as many questions as we can at the end of the session. I'd also like to note that I will be sending out today's presentation slides to everybody tomorrow, as well as a link to a recording of the webinar. So you'll have all of the information from today's webinar on hand for your own reference, as well as to share with any colleagues who you think might be interested, but weren't able to attend the live session. So just before we jump into the presentation, I'd like to give a brief introduction to Dragon Trail International for any of you who might not know us. We are a full-service marketing solutions company specialized in B2C and B2B marketing for Chinese outbound travel. This includes social media, management and campaigns, web development, online travel agent training and engagement, hybrid and virtual events, and market research. Our company is headquartered in Beijing with offices in Shanghai and Xi'an, as well as the UK, where I'm based. And we are proud to work with leading travel brands all around the world, including tourism boards, attractions, hotels, airlines, and international industry events such as COTTM. Excuse me, can somebody turn off their audio, please? Thank you. So you can find more information about the services we provide our clients, case studies of our work, and lots of market insights on our website, www.dragontrail.com. So now let's get started with an overview of what the situation is now for Chinese outbound and inbound travel and how we expect this to develop in the coming year. First, it's good to be clear on what the current restrictions are like to understand what the obstacles are at present. So for more than 2 years, outbound group tourism and travel packages that include a minimum of flight and hotel bookings have been officially banned. However, individual travel has never been banned. So although it's been officially discouraged, an independent Chinese tourist could technically get on a plane and fly to a country that's allowing inbound Chinese tourists at any time. But apart from advice not to leave, there are a number of other factors that complicate this. The biggest issue is quarantine on return. This is a minimum of 14 days in a centralized facility, and it must be self-financed. Second, flight tickets are extraordinarily expensive right now, and flights into China are often canceled as a response to imported COVID cases. Thirdly, if you don't already have a passport or your passport has expired, you can't get a new one for non-essential travel purposes. And lastly, while many countries around the world do recognize the vaccines made in China, others do not. And this could mean either that the traveler who's received these vaccines would need to quarantine on arrival in the country that they're visiting, or they wouldn't be permitted entry as a tourist at all. So this is something that is already improving. For example, Canada changed its policy in November to start recognizing Chinese vaccines, and we hope that it would continue to do so with other countries. It is widely expected that 2022, this year, is going to be the year in which Chinese tourism does start to recover, outbound tourism, after more than 2 years of being virtually shut down. But why do we think this? And when this year should we expect to see the recovery begin? First, we know very clearly that strict travel restrictions, we knew very clearly that strict travel restrictions would be in place leading up to and during the Olympics to make sure that everything ran smoothly for the Beijing 2022 Winter Games. Now, those have just concluded, but we also have the Paralympics coming up from the 4th to the 13th of March. So we don't expect any significant changes to travel policy before then. Then in a best case scenario, we could expect some international travel to pick up in Q2 into Q3 of this year. And this is what C-Trip had in mind when they suggested in December of last year that travel restrictions, international travel restrictions would be relaxed around June. Furthermore, last month, the China Tourism Academy projected a recovery of outbound and inbound tourism in 2022 to 20% of 2019's levels. And this is really the closest thing we have to an official announcement from China's Ministry of Culture and Tourism that travel restrictions will start to be relaxed this year. So it's a very positive sign. We can also see some developments happening just over the past few weeks, with talks between Thailand and China about establishing a travel bubble, as well as a trial being organized to bring back direct flights between the UK and China. That said, there are several important events coming up in China this autumn that could delay things, and ultimately any developments are going to depend on the virus itself and what the situation outside of China is like. So now to get you ready for COTTM and the return of Chinese tourists, I would like to share some market insights about Chinese consumers and the Chinese travel trade. It's really crucial to understand what this market is looking for now and how Chinese travelers might have changed since the last time you saw them. So starting with consumers, the good news is that despite the pandemic, Chinese travelers are still very interested in going overseas. These are the results of a survey which Dragon Trail conducted at the end of last year. And we surveyed more than 1,000 Chinese who had outbound travel experience in the last 5 years. So these are international travelers. In total, 78% of respondents were already thinking about their next international trip. And sentiment was particularly positive among those with higher income, younger travelers, and those from first-tier and new first-tier cities. And it's not just Dragon Trail's own research that has revealed the strong desire to travel overseas. Leading Chinese independent travel website Chongyou reported a 40% year-on-year increase in users checking out information about outbound travel in 2021 compared to 2020. Nearly all of their users, 94.5%, said that they want to travel abroad when the pandemic situation has stabilized. And 83.5% said that they would travel internationally within 1 year of China reopening. So now let's talk about the reasons for international travel, as understanding these motivations will help with product development, marketing, and knowing what to expect when Chinese tourism returns. For Chongyo users, the top 5 reasons to travel internationally are scenery, cities and culture, food and shopping, history and culture, and art exhibitions. So while outdoor tourism has been a huge trend these past 2 years, we can see that cities and attractions, such as historical sites and museums, they still have a lot of appeal. Now, going back to Dragon Trail's research, we had similar results about the reasons to travel overseas. We found that 81% of travelers said that their first post-pandemic outbound trip would involve nature, and 76% said that they would go abroad for cities and culture. So again, nature and the outdoors is very important right now, but Chinese travelers are still interested in experiencing cities and culture. By comparing a few of the top destination countries, which you can see on the right, France, Japan, and the US, we also found that there's some variation in travel motivation depending on the destination. So if you do want to find out more about a particular destination, Dragon Trail offers a number of research products that can help you get the answers you're looking for. Now, based on Chinese travel trends over the past couple of years, as well as conversations that I've been having with Chinese travel agents in the last month or two, I'd like to suggest a few key areas where there are opportunities for product development and future sales. One is small private group travel. This was already a trend pre-pandemic, and it has seen extraordinary growth domestically and in the past 2 years. The Chinese travel agents I spoke to have been unanimous in saying that outbound travelers will now prefer smaller private groups with people that they know rather than large tours with lots of strangers. There may also be increased interest in finding attractions that are more off the beaten track or where there's more space. As we've already seen, scenery and nature are big draws for Chinese travelers thinking about future outbound travel plans. Activities like self-driving, camping, hiking, and water sports have been the leading trends for Chinese domestic tourism post-pandemic, and there should be a good appetite for these things overseas. There is also demand for more in-depth educational tourism. So that might mean visiting a historical site together with an expert guide rather than going to that place just to take photos, for example. If you can provide an enriching and educational experience, this makes travel more valuable and more attractive. Finally, as we've just finished the Beijing 2022 Olympics, there's already a major boom happening in China in snow and ice tourism. And we've seen huge increases in skiing bookings, particularly among women. So this provides another opportunity for some destinations that have winter sports on offer. Overall, it's important to keep in mind that for all products, from accommodation to hotels to skiing, the Chinese market is likely to have higher expectations now than they did before the pandemic. The local tourism industry and offerings in China have developed significantly over the past 2 years, and it's important to offer something that is high quality and an experience that Chinese travelers can't get at home. This could also create more opportunities for high-end accommodation and services. I also wanted to talk a little bit about safety, as China has always been a really safety-conscious market, and travelers will certainly be thinking about health and safety when they start to travel abroad again. The chart that you can see on the screen here is based on a report from the China Tourism Academy and Mafengguo, which is a Chinese travel website. And they found that in 2021, safety was by far and away the biggest factor that Chinese travelers thought about before planning a trip, followed by food and scenery. So this means that whatever information you can provide about safety precautions or the situation at your destination or with your business, that's going to be information that could influence travel decisions. And destinations that have a good reputation for safety, hygiene, and healthcare are likely to have some advantage. Now, of course, the pandemic situation and safety rules are changing everywhere all the time. We are seeing restrictions being totally relaxed in countries and regions all over the world right now. And by the time Chinese are really traveling abroad again, many things may have changed since we did our market research at the end of last year. And of course, we're going to continue to do more surveys and provide updated information later on. But just looking at the end of last year, we asked Chinese outbound travelers which safety precautions were must-haves for when they travel abroad again. And we found that the majority of respondents actually chose all of the options that we listed, particularly those regarding mask wearing and sanitization. We found that families with children and residents of new first-tier cities, such as Xi'an, Chengdu, and Hangzhou, they were the most cautious. Now, to finish up, I wanted to share some insights from interviews with Chinese travel agents about what kind of information you should prepare before speaking to the Chinese travel trade. For example, if you're going to attend COTTM. So first, looking at products, probably the most important thing is to be able to provide information on any new products or itineraries. And then you could also think about providing information about any important events that might be coming up that might be a reason to visit your destination, such as sporting events or art exhibitions. Remember, we saw that art exhibitions were one of the top 5 reasons that Chongyou users wanted to travel abroad. Now, travel agents are also going to want to know about your business. What have you been doing over the past 2 years? Have you been working with other markets? How has the pandemic impacted your staffing or your service capabilities? I spoke to one travel agent who had arranged a trip to Spain for some Chinese clients who live in the UK at the end of last year. And their biggest concern during the trip was actually not COVID related at all. It was about a lack of service staff at one of the hotels that they stayed at. Now, I'm not sure if this is the case everywhere in the world, but for many countries, we're now facing staff shortages in the hospitality and tourism industries because of the pandemic. And this is something that you may need to address. I imagine that for everyone in all markets, cancellation policies have become much more important in the past 2 years. So this is something that potential partners and clients are going to want to know about too. In terms of COVID, safety, and travel restrictions, obviously this is an ever-changing situation, but providing as much up-to-date information as possible is going to be the best course of action, and then you can update that as needed. So this would include details about any pre-departure testing or vaccination requirements for travelers, as well as what the situation is like in your destination in terms of safety measures, vaccination rates, healthcare facilities, and what precautions are being taken to keep visitors and guests safe in hotels, at attractions, and in general in the country. So Tony will be able to share more about what the travel trade is looking for at this point in time. But first, I am going to hand over to Jane at COTTM to talk about opportunities now to start reaching out to this market that is hungry for international travel and already thinking about their next destination.
Okay, thank you very much, Sienna. Welcome everybody to COTTM, the China Outbound Travel and Tourism Market. And thank you very much for tuning in. As Sienna said, I'm Jane Carter and I've been involved with COTTM for the past 16 years. Following on from Sienna's in-depth insight on the latest developments of the market, we also wanted to inform you that the Chinese government announced last month that it strongly supports outbound tourism and has set up a clear and precise 5-year action plan supporting international travel. This is very encouraging for outbound tourism from China. And here you can see some of the key points taken from the report. I would now like to just take this opportunity to explain how we can help assist you in reaching the right business contacts in China who are responsible for the outbound market. COTTM was launched in Beijing 18 years ago, and in that time we have organised 15 live physical shows which run annually in spring and attract an audience of over 4,000 Chinese tour operators and welcome 450 exhibitors from 70 different countries. In addition, we have held 3 summits around China, and currently we are running our online platform, COTTM Online. COTTM has been very successful, in particular in helping long-haul destinations, unique destinations, and suppliers in reaching the right contacts in the China market. The visitor audience to COTTM is 100% outbound and 100% B2B. We are very proud to have built up strong relationships with key buyers in the marketplace, including the likes of C-Trip, HCG International Travel Group, CASA and UTOUR, etc. It is also important to mention that we hold COTTM in Beijing, as this is where the majority of the tour operators are based. When the pandemic hit, like most organisations, we had to adapt to the changes to the global market. And so very early on, alongside our partner, Dragon Trail, we launched COTTM Online. The virtual B2B online trade show was organised and ran in the same way as COTTM, our live physical face-to-face exhibition, but it is purely online. It gave international organisations the opportunity of having 2 months exposure on the platform, enabling them to access the large database of Chinese tour operators and travel agents. Each package option available allowed exhibitors to have a full, dedicated day of preset appointments with the Chinese tour operators. The real benefits of COTTM Online is that you are not required to travel. It is purely online. It is very easy to use. It has a built-in translation service, and it is very cost-effective. The international exhibitors who joined COTTM Online had a fantastic response from the Chinese tour operators, and it allowed them to put their company at the forefront of their mind for when we all do get back to business. It is also important that the China market doesn't feel forgotten, because when it does return, the business potential will be phenomenal once again. By the end of 2021, the online platform had serviced 43 international tourism suppliers and organised 12 webinars. Also, an amazing 717 scheduled appointments had taken place between international suppliers and the Chinese tour operators. Here are some of the key opportunities available to you on COTTM Online. The package includes taking an online exhibition stand, 2 months marketing exposure on the trade show platform. Your company logo and name will appear on the floor plan. And most importantly, pre-scheduled appointments with pre-qualified Chinese buyers matching your criteria will be arranged for you. Following on from the success of COTTM Online, we were fortunate enough to expand our support of the China market by being the first organiser to hold a live physical face-to-face travel event in 2021 with the COTTM Summit, which took place on the 14th of October in Beijing. Due to travel restrictions, international destinations who have local offices in China were able to take advantage of attending the COTTM Summit. Supported by Daibin from the CTA, destinations enjoyed a tabletop participation that included networking opportunities and the platform to present to the China market on what measures they were putting into place to make their destination a safe place to travel to, and to explain how they were going to market their destination going forward. The event attracted 260 industry professionals, including embassy officials, national tourism boards, and the Chinese tour operators. Important panel discussions were held at the COTTM Summit, including topics exploring the new pattern of China's outbound tourism market after the pandemic. What are the plans that overseas tourism destinations will take to meet the new market needs? And what are the new trends of customised travel? Such was the response from both the international exhibitors and Chinese operators, we can announce that we will be organising another COTTM Summit in the autumn of this year in Beijing to further support our clients and this important market. So, what next for COTTM? The normal live annual 3-day COTTM exhibition will return in April 2023 in Beijing, at the same venue, the National Agricultural Centre. This will allow time for China and the rest of the world to open up, and we very much look forward to welcoming our clients back to COTTM in 2023. The team will be in touch shortly to confirm the exact dates of the COTTM Summit this year. But in the meantime, please make a note for your marketing plans that COTTM in its normal format will be back in April 2023. To summarise, here are the marketing vehicles we are providing to help you reach and keep in contact with the China market. For the whole of this year, COTTM Online will be running, and we strongly recommend that you participate so that you are ready for when this huge market returns. If you just think back, before the pandemic, the Chinese outbound figures were just eye-watering, with 155 million outbound trips, making it the largest market in the world, with the highest spend totaling 133 billion US dollars. COTTM Online can assist you with your business relationships for when we can all once again meet face-to-face in China. The COTTM Summit will take place in the autumn of this year, 2022, dates to be confirmed. And our national event, COTTM, will return in April 2023. I hope this information has been useful, and here is our contact details, and we very much look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much for sparing your time.
Thank you so much, Jane. Now, for the next few minutes, let's hear from Tony Ong about his perspective and advice as a Chinese travel agent, including the international products that he's already selling to Chinese clients.
Thank you, Sina. This is Tony. I would like to thank Dragon Trails and COTTMs. Between since COVID-19 up to now, whatever you do, to connecting no matter the channels and also overseas, is quite active to doing. At least we have a connecting. And I do some briefing about HCG. HCG travel groups we set up 1993, and we take over by Ctrip, now trip.com, since 2014 September. So in year 2019, we brand new name as a HCG Travel Groups, but we keep our ETI holidays. The product names remain unchanged. And the year 2019, we celebrate our 5th anniversary after we take over by Ctrips. It seems that the booming market, overall for 2020 seems very good, the business core. But since the January of 2020, the COVID is coming. So I need to share what we do and what we change since COVID at the beginning of the year 2020. There's a peak season and group request to suspend to stops by CNTA. So we're running a lot of the return, refund, communicate with all our retailer. And although we hold by trip.com, but we're running individual business models, and more than 80% business called B2B, and take about 50% mics, and about 5% is the individual or tailor-made. So we thought that this COVID seemed like SARS will be recover soon, might be May. We try to reach restructure our products, but we wait. We see that couldn't happen because seeing that starting March for the overseas is quite serious case. So we think that might be back on summer 2022, but impossible. So what we do at this moment, I mean, we lose a lot and we need to restructure our company strategy. So we have a quite great MICE team and also our corporate client that they have such budget to spending domestic and local. And we have also our aviation divisions that's because before COVID-19, we do the charter flights, Azerbaijan Airlines, that able to connecting Baku to Middle East, Europe, USA. So now we change it to cargo. And we set up our DMC, our local DMC that focus for the domestic and local tour. We set up in Tibet, Xinjiang, Fujian, and Yunnan as well. And we take the support from the local tourism authority. We do the charter flight from Beijing and also Shenzhen direct to Wuhan. But unfortunately, during July, there's a several case again, and seeing that China government get it very serious. So most of the flights are asking to stop. We still carry on our e-booking platform that we already invest since before COVID-19, that's special for our outbound product digital system. So we need to restructure because we couldn't expect when the China border will be open, as what both the speakers say that it's quite strict and the guarantee. We try to cut the costs and all the management structures we need to restructure, and we need to cut down of the employee. I thought that most of the business partner or most of the competitors or the trades already suspend or they already stop their business, or might be they change to other business firm. But we still here. We still carry on our weekly board meeting, management meeting. Lucky because we hold by trade.com. So since 2016, trade.com has been bought 3 US company. And we've seen that starting from 2021 is a good sign and positive because most of Americans is already getting started to abroad. And our CEO also take part of the board directors of these 3 US company. So we have a management meeting to negotiate why don't they starting to organize Americans traveler to visit Europe. So since starting from 2021 Q2, we create, some of the product to announce in Americans market. Before these 3 US company, they more focus incoming, from overall China, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong to visit US. And now they're starting to connecting with the HCG because we have quite strong buying power in Europe destination, Middle East. So we work together to create, and we sent it the first groups September 2021. So it's quite amazing because we find that there's a lot of things change, and we need to create. We need to have furthermore communications and negotiate with our business partner because all the market is changed, even though for China it's a big change. And even though for our partners, some just didn't starting their operating yet, and some is already left the company. So I've been visit to Europe last year, October, to join the Swiss travel market. And after that, I visit to France. I feel that everything is back to normal. So I think what the positive and what the recovery action in overseas is quite important to feedback to China, because this is quite important to make all, no matter the travel trades or our company internals, confident to recovery, to preparation for the recovery. And we're starting already, I mean, for this year's, all the series for American Chinese or overseas Chinese market product, at least we get ready to know what is happened in overall Europe's and what is changed, no matter Europe, Middle East, or Turkey's. And we still have confidence because the China market is quite potential. And as what the statistic data came out, already more than 2 years, they didn't abroad. So they have such feeling to have traveled abroad. So much question to asking when the border open, as what we say that the vaccines, the vaccination in China is almost more than 80%. And after the Winter Olympic game, how they control, able to make the necessary arrangement. I thought that what we expected, the Q4 of this year will be see some charming. And we have good communicate as well with the embassy that they are willing to help and also to assist all the travel trade. I thought that we need to have a more communicate, no matter through the rituals or face-to-face through the Dragon Trails or COTTM to make together and to issue more flexible policy. And we need to revise all the resources, and we need to updating the standard safety operation procedure or different destination. I mean, important thing is the recognize of the vaccine is quite important as well for China market. Yep. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Tony. I imagine that our audience may have some follow-up questions for you, and we're just about ready now to start the Q&A session. But before we do, I wanted to let you know about a couple of additional resources that you might find helpful to make sure that you're up to date on the Chinese travel market and ready to make the most out of joining COTTM online. So if you visit the Dragon Trail website or our social media channels, you will find a huge amount of consumer research, translated reports, information on digital marketing, articles about Chinese travel trends over the past couple of years, and examples of how travel brands have been engaging the Chinese market and trade. So this should be really good to kind of get you up to speed if maybe you haven't been following the Chinese market as closely these past couple of years, and make sure that you are as informed as possible before you start speaking to Chinese travel agents at COTTM online. Now, if you're looking for more specific consumer insights on your destination or your business to ensure that your sales and marketing strategy is based on the freshest data, then please do have a look at the research services that we provide, especially the China Travel Market Monitor, which we run every month. That is a cost share survey that goes out every month to more than 1,000 Chinese with outbound travel experience. But we also have other survey products that are kind of bigger bespoke research reports. So it really depends on what you're looking for. And whether or not you ultimately decide to join the China Travel Market Monitor or perhaps use a different research service, you are very welcome to fill out our contact form. There's a link to it on the slide here. And that will put you in touch with our research manager, who can then discuss any questions that you have about the survey. And she can offer her feedback on what survey questions and what kind of survey are going to deliver the information that you want to know. So thank you so much, everybody. And we're now ready to move on to